Hi, Mathilde. Thank you for joining me in this conversation today. I've prepared 4 questions for you, but before we get started, let me quickly introduce yourself to the audience. Mathilde ter Heijne is a Berlin-based artist with Dutch nationality, born in France, who primarily works within the mediums of video, performance, and installation. Since 2018, the University of the Arts in Berlin can be lucky to have you as a professor for performance and media, time-based media. Mathilde, your work, Mathilde, is a one-channel video of about 4 minutes that was made in 2000. It was acquired in 2009, right after being shown in the great exhibition Female Trouble, curated by Inka Greve-Ingelmann. In your video, one can say that a woman is deeply troubled. The starting point for this piece actually were 3 different French movies, all of them having in common that the female main character's name is Mathilde, as is yours, and that each Mathilde commits suicide at some point. So in your work, you intertwine spoken parts of these movies with a narrative in which you yourself appear as the main character running over a bridge on a rainy day. Mathilde, can you tell us a little bit about the plot of your video? So what do you give us to see?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for speaking in this about this old video. Huh? It's 2001, so 20 years later. I'm happy that the video is still interesting, sad in a way also that it's also still has an actuality. Well, the 3 movies you mentioned are La Femme de l'à côté from François Truffaut, made in 1980, and Noche Blanc, that followed in 1990 by Jean-Claude Bresson. And finally, Patrice Lecomte made La Marie de la Coiffeuse in 1991. So for the video that I made, I used from all 3 movies short dialogues as a footage. And all 3 films tell a love story of a French white, a younger woman, and a French white, older man. And in all the 3 films, somehow the love story ends in the suicide of the woman in the film, called Mathilde. So I was a bit, I was troubled by this. And I was wondering, okay, what is this? Does it something to do with the name? Mathilde is a coincidence. So I was wondering if this name would be a dangerous mantra or something that could infect me. So for the video, I decided to take on those film identities, those roles of those Mathilde roles, basically. And I tried to restage those suicide scenes from the 3 movies as best as I could. I wanted to do a really professional production. And I got a big team and a helicopter and people in the water, and God knows what I arranged. So for me, it was clear that I, of course, didn't want to be shot. I didn't want to jump off a bridge. I didn't want to kill myself, especially not for a love relationship. And so I had to think of the construction of the special effect, and making a replica was, of course, the way to stage a suicide. In Babelsberg at the time, there was a good situation because there wasn't so much work to do in that time for the special effects studio. So they helped me to make a replica of myself. And in fact, we ended up making 40 replicas after that.
Okay.
Because when I saw this replica, I was very much triggered also by the strange effect of somehow seeing something that is you, but it's not you at the same time. So there's this kind of like confusion of, oh, I can like leave something there, this other, and then look at my own life self. There is this kind of weird schizophrenia in this moment. But anyways, yeah, to shoot, it started to rain, and we had to redo the drowning scene over and over again, because first of all we had this different camera perspectives, but of course something went wrong, and the dummy became very, very heavy. And I had to take the dummy up to the bridge every time and throw it over this fence. So yeah, that became in itself really an important central event of the movie. So maybe this is what I can tell you. It can be seen. The different fractions with the dialogues and the different moments of those different suicide scenes. Mm-hmm. With in effect the moment of the struggle being a very important element in the film, in the movie, in my video. Sorry.
Yes. We can have a later look at this scene, or do you wish me to show it right now?
It's up to you. I mean, maybe we can shortly take a look at this moment of the of the struggle.
Yes.
Yeah, and the video has this this is the end of the video. So in the beginning, you are still, in the filmic illusion, so to say. Only in the end, like this moment, is where you realize this is not for real. There's no real dead body.
Yes. So do you remember which shot this was? I mean, you said that you had to repeat it over and over again. I'm just curious.
Oh, it must have been one of the later ones, because you see me already completely wet and I'm so tired, and I'm just like, I didn't have to, I was, the thing is that in a way I'm also playing myself here, I'm also like, I'm not there as the Mathilde that I try to restage. I'm also the Mathilde with Mathilde. So, and in a way, as I'm replaying those other Mathildes, I was wondering, do I need to now maybe like play or act or whatever? But there was no acting, because it was just awful. I was just suffering at that moment.
And one can see that, but this is really great, actually, I think. Okay, let me ask my second question. So these three movies, you already talked about them, of which the text lines are appropriated from. They're from the 1980s. One is from 1990. So those lines seem to me really very well to the point and very well collected. To me, they seem to cover each stage of the tragic love story. So starting with his desire, going through their passion, and ending up in her resignation somehow. Is this some sort of pattern which is, I don't know, would you say this is typical for especially French movies of this kind? And which role model of women in general is conveyed in this?
Yeah, as I told you, the storyline of those films is very similar. All of those Mathildes, in a way, use their death to flee out of their own reality. They try to keep their love as something eternal. So because maybe reality would destroy it. And I guess there were still many of those kind of films that show like a small shift out of gender norms, or out of like strict behavior codes. But in the end, those filmed in a way confirm the traditional status quo. You know, so these films are sometimes called women's movies, or weepy, or but the thing is that in those films, women are addressed in their traditional roles in a patriarchal society, you know, as wives or mothers or abandoned lovers. Yeah, so if those women leave those strict codes, those gender roles in the film, they always end up somehow dead, or they end up in some hysterical fit, or they end up in poverty or loneliness. There's in the even in the 30s, just after, you know, the freeing up of possibilities in the 20s, there's the depression comes in Hollywood. There's even a special kind of movie called the double movie. Like, there are always two women involved, to sort of like possibilities of constructions of identity. And the successful, rich, beautiful, independent woman. On the other side, there's the sort of like housewife, very loyal, suffering, poor woman. And in the end of the woman, always goes something wrong with the more independent, successful one. And so the ideal is that in the end is assumed it would be ideal for everybody, is then the sacrificing version. So this is in a way what's happening here too. There's a sort of depiction of femininity, and at the time I was also confused about my own ideas of what love should be, you know, what it would mean to me, or in what kind of relationship I should stay, or what is what is good for me or not, or if I have to give in to certain situations. So that's also in a way why I wanted to replay these scenes. But it's interesting because obviously these films are constructions, and for me, when I was editing the material and I was looking at the images, I realized that the only thing I can really show is definitely not status quo. I mean, I have to deconstruct this illusion of reality. You know, film is not reality. You know, it's a construction, and by the deconstruction of media is in a way showing the construction of identity. And this is what I've been doing then also, most of my videos also afterwards, after this video, is the deconstruction of the filmic illusion became very important for me. And also to also look at the different special effects, you know, how do they actually function, how it's a formal methodology, and but in a way it also shows you how social realities are constructed. Yeah, and what did I want to say about this further? In the end, it's a bit what I wanted to show, you know, because you asked, what can we see? I mean, you can see in a way me also being myself, trying to make a professional film, and in the end also failing to give you the professional illusion. I fail in it. I fail as an artist or as a filmmaker, but at the same time, I hope to make this failing productive. So at least for myself, freeing myself from this illusion.
Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting that so the dummy that we've already seen, you incorporated so that we can really make out that it's a dummy and that it's not you at the very end of the video. So at the beginning, if you don't look very closely or whatever, so you wouldn't know actually. So you see you running, and then you see a body falling, lying in the water. So this could actually still have been you. But I mean, the dummy, I was really shocked when I saw it for the first time. It looks like the replica is perfect to me. It's like really the face, the hairdo, the clothes, everything is the same. But what does this dummy also mean to you on a conceptual level?
Yeah, the dummy itself is the lifeless body. At the time, Elizabeth Bronfen wrote about art as the female body just dead, not still warm, so but dead.
Mhm.
And also, I was at the time very much bothered about this kind of projection that is happening upon artists generally, I suppose. If you don't have a strong voice, and if you're not articulated, you are in a risk of projections. You know, with people projecting on you certain agendas that might not be the same as yours. So this, first of all, was for me the dummy as like, okay, here you have your object, here you have your object of desire, maybe even as a female artist. There you have it. So I can just send it somewhere, and then when I like I said, I made it around 40. I started to build in a little microphone. I mean, it's in a way also a very playful thing to do. So this dummy could speak, and then I thought, okay, well, now this object can say things that me as a person, as empathic or maybe also insecure person, uh, cannot say, or I don't dare to say in certain situations. So this dummy became also something where I could, I could. Uh, I don't know a good English word for this at this moment, where I could just it's a doppelganger, in a way.
Mhm.
It's
Yes.
something where you can give off your not your responsibility maybe, but I could make it more radical in a way. So it's a kind of an affirmative strategy, one would say, this nowadays, but at the same time there's an element of resilience in it, of not giving in to certain norms or behaviors or
Mhm.
expectations.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But then what I think is also really nicely done is that, of course, you play with the idea of that it's you, and you also as the creator of the video, and then on the other hand, by introducing at the beginning these other three different Mathildes, so you create like a Mathilde that could be any woman. And that is really really interesting when thinking about the role of the dummy in your work. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, looking, so today you said it already, 20 years after this video artwork was realized, has anything changed? What would you say? So regarding also your artistic objective, for example, when it comes to this topic.
Yeah, well, I mean, the political women's movements of that time, I mean, that's 80s, the 70s, or even in the end of the late 60s, they began to criticize those patriarchal structures and gender-specific definitions. And I think, of course, a special role was attributed to the media, which were, as institutions of patriarchal society, were significantly involved in the maintenance of those structures that discriminated against women, but not only against women, about many minorities. And I think 20 years, 21 years later, these cultural studies and feminist theories, discourses moved on, of course. So I guess that's something that I also moved on with. My perspectives changed. I do think that uh, those patriarchal order didn't change. The fact is how we tackle it, and
Mhm.
what kind of strategies and how we can articulate ourselves in it. This changed for sure, and of course my repertoire changed too. So I can see some consistency in my work, working with footage, material, archives, the entanglement of different time frames, and the continuation of issues, and in a way, for me, the design of maybe light even strategies, like to overcome or to deconstruct or to go against these seemingly fixed structures, notions, or whenever they come up, it's like they're not maybe fixed, but I think those patriarchal structures, they move as well as also people try to go around them or try to deconstruct them. So that's what we see now very much in the world, as art world is also very globalized, and our media network is covering all parts of the world, that you see the movements going and disappearing. So my work has also become more extended to outside of Europe even. So that is something that changed in my work. And also nowadays, thankfully, notions of femininity and masculinity are not linked to people's body anymore, So gender roles are less strict in the north of Europe, I would say. And film industry has changed, and Hollywood is not only dominating anymore, though still reactionary. There's also Bollywood and Hollywood. So that's a bit, I shifted to, for me, the special effects and looking into it, also this change over time, but this is still for me an informal element that I like to work with. And the professionality versus non-professionality is also still an issue. So I do think that what this video, Mathilde, was an important moment in the production of or in the, I would say, the constitution of my later work.
And I find it really, I can say that, fruitful to talk about it right now and to look at it right now. I just did it recently with some students, because there are these three different times incorporated. So you have these times when the movies came out and were created. You have which are the 80s more or less. Then you have 2000 or 2001. So the time when you created this video, and we have this ever-changing other time, always when we look at it from a very, very present point of view, and it's really interesting to keep these other times in mind and to see how things have shifted until the recent day. And and sometimes it's a bit horrifying to see that not that much has shifted sometimes. But anyways, yes, this is also one of the reasons why we show it right now at the Pinakothek der Moderne. May I ask at the end, I mean, you talked already a little bit about it, but so what are you currently working on in your artistic practice?
At the moment I work on this entanglement of my identity as a European artist, white European artist, in the framework of my Dutch, French and German heritage, especially the colonial past in West Africa. And it's a project that I've been working on now for 10 years at least. It's kind of, it's really complex. I work with the community in West Africa, and it's a bottom-up project that takes a lot of there's a lot of like Mauers. There's a lot of like there were many moments in history that sort of constructed divisions or cuts or breaks, or it was very violent, not only like in the sense of real violence, but also violence in how identities were constructed, or high identities were sort of like put into certain places. I don't know, even yeah. So there's not I think it's difficult to overcome um, cultural differences. You have to be very precise and clear, and have to have a lot of patience also to overcome problematic and hurtful yeah moments in history and moments of communication. Yeah, as we've seen in the Mathilde video, there's already in the way how we talk about love, for instance, or how we deal with love, the patriarchal order is in many different in many different forms. It's in our language, it's in our gestures, and in our body language, it's in our borders, how we can move. So the researching those moments with patriarchal order becomes a strong force, or can be tackled easily, or can be seen, or showing its ugly face. This is the moment where I want to look into and make art about. And this is what I'm still doing, but like I said, more in a global framework now, especially in this one project that I'm for a long time busy with. Is in the West African coast. Yeah, but I mean, I'm working on many different projects at the same time, because most of the works I do are a sort of ongoing series, like the dummies. Those dummies started in 2000, and I've been making dummies since then. So for me, these works are not like one-time pieces. They in a way also in those I formulated a sort of methodology that I can work with. It's a conceptual framework that seems to function, and then that goes on then on its own. And next to it, I have other projects that sort of tackle other issues or other formal aspects, and they also go on. So maybe that is how much I can say at this moment.
Okay, great. Well, I'm looking forward to this new work of yours. Okay, Mathilde, again, thank you very much for sharing your time with me, with the audience, and for, also sharing your thoughts with us.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I wish you a lovely day.
Yeah, you too. Nice to speak to you, and good luck with your further program.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.